Welcome back to another Charlotte Legacy League where we have green-white lands versus Dimir Shadow. I've kept 6 cards and Ryan's kept 7. I'm on the play this game. I'm going to lead off on a Savannah and an Exploration, which will immediately get Force of Will. My thought process was once I got that out, if I could play the Ancient Tomb and then lead up with the Retrofitter Foundry and then the Soul Guide Lantern, then I would be in pretty good shape to handle Ryan's Graveyard as well as start putting pressure on the board early. Didn't go the way I wanted it to, but we do follow up this turn with the Ancient Tomb. We play the Retrofitter Foundry out just to see if we can pull a Daze out of his hand, which I believe we do here. We may not, I can't remember, but if he does Daze me, then I definitely pay the mana here because the Retrofitter Foundry is so important in this matchup. So he chooses not to Daze me. I play Soul Guide Lantern as well, choosing to hit his Force of Will, I believe. So we're able to get onto the board, not ideally the way I wanted to. I prefer to have already had a servo in play, but he is a little far behind. So we're in pretty good shape there. I have 2 cards in hand, and he's going to choose to Bowmaster me during... Well, it looks like we missed a turn there. Because I just bogged him. Yeah, I bogged him and just passed because there's nothing really going on. I'm able to make a servo at that point, though. So he does go for the Thoughtseize here. I have the crop rotation. I choose to crop rotate the land anyway, just in case he tries to Swords or Daze me or anything like that. He does Daze me again. I'm happy to pay the 2 life to get the 2 mana to pay for it. And I have 1 mana floating. And I'm able to get an Urza Saga and use the floating mana before we go to combat to make a servo. I believe he has another Bowmaster, or no, he has the new card that he can pay 3 life to destroy a creature instead of discarding a card, which is what he does. It's smart on his point because it does help out his Death Shadow, moving his life total down quite a bit. I lose a servo, and then I take 2 damage here, putting me down to 13. So we'll untap, and now we have the Saga going, as well as we'll have Yavimaya coming into play this turn, which will allow me to either choose to make a servo and a construct by paying 2 life, which at first I just make the construct to block the Orcish Bowmaster. And the reason behind that is if he has another Bowmaster in his hand, he could technically try and kill my construct, my Bowmastering it, as well as it'll pump it up to be a 2/2 and be 3 damage. I can still make the servo in response to the block damage and keep it alive, but I choose to go ahead and get the Bowmaster off the battlefield here. Even though I don't draw any extra cards or anything like that, I will take another 2 life to make a servo just to make my construct a little bit bigger. I'm able to, from here, make a construct during my main phase 1, and then equip a Shadow Spear that I'm going to go fetch out of the deck to the construct, making it a, let's see, that's 5, 6, 7, 7 lifelinker, putting me right back up to 15. So he doesn't really have too much he can do at this point. Fatal Push, I believe, is about the only thing. He packs it up, and we'll see you in game number 2. If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Game number 2, he's on the play. We've both kept 7 here. He's going to fetch out a basic island. He is a little fearful of Wasteland. I do understand that, and it's something he should be aware of. But he sacrifices his mana quite a bit just to not get Wastelanded. I didn't think this deck's that fragile on mana, but it seems like it might be. But we'll see. I do have lead off on Saga into a Ancient Tomb. This is a pretty greedy keep. I kept 2 Loams of crop rotation and then a bunch of lands, none of them having green mana to actually utilize those spells, and it continues to spiral from there. I don't really have any great answers for anything he can do at the moment. I have the Saga that I can make 1 construct on, but that's really about it. And with me not being able to loan back the Saga or crop rotate for another Saga in response to anything that he does graveyard hate-wise. It leaves me in a pretty bad position. So we'll make the construct here after the Wasteland. He does have the Surgical in his hand that he does fire off almost immediately. He also has a Fatal Push in his hand where he takes me off of my construct as well. So first thing he does is Surgical, so you can see what's in my hand. I think at this point he knows he's in pretty good shape. I do have an Aganjo and a Swords of Plowshare, which is nice, but it doesn't really work the way I want it to, because I prefer to have the Ganjo for an attacking creature as opposed to not. So there's the Fatal Push on the construct, and now I'm just sitting here kind of holding my dick in my hand, hoping I can get something going. I probably should have played the Crucible here and try to get some board presence with Wastelands and whatnot. But he does go get another Underground, and now I'm really regretting not playing the Crucible that turn. And he would have 3 mana, which isn't the end of the world, but it's still pretty tough. Now we're dealing with a Troll, which is okay because I have the Aganjo Swords of Plowshare in hand, but I don't get to resolve it because he has the Force of Will pitching the Brazen Borrower. He comments that he didn't really want to pitch the Brazen Borrower to the Force of Will, but I mean that's kind of what you do. Oh, he pitches the Brainstorm. Okay, I thought he pitched the Brazen Borrower for some reason, but I'm in a pretty bad spot, and I think he rips the Murktide here too, so puts me in an even worse spot. I take 6 more, and then he has an 8/8. And I'm trying to think of how I can get green mana on the board. I think luckily here I draw the Maze of Ith, which is great. If the Exploration were in play, it'd be a lot better. But I choose to go ahead and get the Crucible Worlds online. I think it's just too little too late here. So I've got the Ghost Quarter in my hand, and I'm thinking that I can Ghost Quarter my Ancient Tomb, then crop rotate using that force that I get off of the Ancient Tomb to find another Maze of Ith to try and hold this army back. But he does find a Death Shadow as well. So now I'm having 3 creatures I have to deal with as opposed to just 1. Puts me down to 4, and he passes over to my turn. I luckily draw the basic forest here, so I'm able to just play the forest, rotate for the other Maze of Ith. His Death Shadow is only a 3/3 at the moment, so I can take 1 more hit and try and figure out something out to win this game. He attacks for 3. I maze down 2 of his big creatures, and then he actually has a dress down for the kill. So that's game. We'll see you in game number 3. If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Welcome back to game number 3. We both kept 7 on this one, and I'm on the play again. So I lead off with a Thespian Stage, a Mox Diamond, and then I made a mistake here. I wasn't playing around Daze, so I should have just went ahead and played the Soul Guide Lantern first, because when it does come into play, it does target something. It has to target something if there's something to target. So I lose my Caracas here pretty early in the game, which isn't a big deal because he doesn't play any legendary creatures, but it is a white mana source that actually allows me to, Swords of Plowshare and whatnot. We'll see a Brainstorm out of Ryan. I think he's digging for some counter magic here. He doesn't find it, so the Exploration resolves, and I'm able to play out a Blast Zone and a Maze of Ith, which is pretty good against a creature-heavy deck like it is. He does have a Wasteland in his hand, but we're in pretty good shape and insulated from that, having the Thespian Stage available to copy. I think he probably should have maybe Wastelanded the Thespian Stage on this turn, or even the Blast Zone, but he chooses not to. He's going to fire off a Thoughtseize at me, and I only have a Wasteland in my hand. So it's a win-win for me that he didn't play the Wasteland that turn, because right now I've got nothing really going for me. And I can't remember what I draw here. I draw an Ancient Tomb, which is even better, because now the stage is available to copy my Wasteland, and then I Wasteland him off, kind of thing. The other thing he probably should have done here, I think he's just trying to get some mana base underneath him, as opposed to just Wastelanding me again. Because, again, the Wasteland would be really strong here. But I understand why he's trying to get his mana underneath him. but he does have a brainstorm and things like that to actually get it going. I ripped the Saga here, which is an even better for me because I can make the Saga a copy with the Thespian stage, or I can make it a basic island in response to a wasteland if he goes after the Thespian stage as well. So I'm in pretty good shape here. During his draw step, I decide to go ahead and use the Soul Guide Lantern on his graveyard in case he drew a Murktide or had a Murktide in his hand, which ends up working out pretty well for me as well. So there's that Wasteland from Ryan. He's going to fetch here, and I think he maybe plays a Bowmaster or something along those lines. We'll see in just a second. He does have a Death Shadow and a Meltdown in his hand. So he's ready for constructs when it's time. Pass back to him. Or no, that was at his end. That was a draw step. I don't know what the fuck just happened. But we're going to see a Wasteland fire off on this Blast Zone. So he's going to try and get his Death Shadows down to resolve. So, wait, he's going to fire it off on the Thespian stage because he doesn't want to get Wastelanded if he plays a fetch. So I take 2 damage here to make it a basic island to fizzle his Wasteland. And we'll see him Wasteland the Saga. I'll make a construct out of that. So it's a good heads up play by him to get me to go ahead and use the Ancient Tomb. Looks like I missed taking 2 damage there. So that's probably going to be pretty key in this match. If that's the case, then I definitely should have lost this match. Just based off of that alone. We have the Loam. He has a Force Negation for it, so that's pretty tough. I feel really bad now that I didn't take that 2 damage from that Ancient Tomb. I think that's the difference in the game. That makes me feel really bad. Anyway, we'll see how it goes, because again, I think I should have lost that life there. It's both of our faults for not keeping track of it. We'll see a Ponder from Ryan. He's going to choose to just draw off the top. Another fetch. He does have a Meltdown in his hand to handle these constructs. We'll draw again. Another attack for 2. He does have a Dress Down in his hand. He chooses not to use yet. And I think I pass back here. So that's tough. Dismember in Ryan's hand now. I'm going to make a construct. And then I'm going to take 2 damage. And make that a copy of the Saga. Both triggers. I think I make another construct here. And then I go get a Retrofitter Foundry. I mistapped my mana. I should use the Blast Zone instead of the Mox, because then I could have played out the Elf a little sooner. But we'll see an attack here. He's going to choose not to dress down it. He's just going to take the 5 damage, which is interesting. I think I probably would have dressed down there just to stop the construct damage, because he does have a Meltdown here. And he draws a Wasteland for the Blast Zone as well, so that definitely put me into the Nether realm of if he would have dressed down and blown up all my stuff, but he's going to go for the Meltdown here, I think. And then he can Wasteland he Wastelands the Blast Zone, I think, here. So we'll see a Meltdown for let's see what he does. He's going to Wasteland the Blast Zone. And then see a Meltdown here. I think he just plays a Shadow. He plays a Shadow. Alright, so he's setting up probably a kill with this Shadow, just with the Meltdown being available. So make a Servo in the turn, untap, and then the draw, trigger up on the Thespian Stage, and then we we attack, I guess, is probably what we do. Yeah, we're going to attack for 10, 15, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 18 damage. He has a dress down, which clears the board, which is kind of tough for me. Especially with the Death Shadow out. It's still it's a 13-13 right now. But we do have the stage that can make another construct if we need to. And I choose to play the... I don't mean to show him the Aganjo, but I choose to play the Elvish Acclaimer, which he then immediately, I believe, dismembers during his turn. Picks up another land. He's got a Force Dismember, Meltdown, and Death Shadow in his hand. I think I also have the Loam here to get this Blast Zone back on the table because of these shadows. So we'll see him hit the Reclaimer, taking 4 life. Chooses to use his island instead of a swamp, so he can play another Death Shadow. Luckily, he doesn't have a blue card for the Force Will for the Loam, and we'll we'll loam that back next turn. So take 2 damage and make it an island. So now that can make a creature. I'll take a damage off of that to make a Thopter. I'm just trying to set up a Blast Zone, make a 4/4 kind of thing. Ripped a Loam there, which is very key. And that allows me to get the Blast Zone back. I take a damage there. No Force of Will. So the Blast Zone can come back. I have the mana to activate it, and then I can put another Saga into play as well. I'll get a Wasteland and a Saga. And I believe I choose to play the Saga over the Wasteland. So I play Blast Zone and then Saga, I think. Right here, we're in a tough spot. I don't know he has a Meltdown, so I'm thinking I'm still in pretty good shape here with this line. Goes, I can make a 4/4 at his end step, blow up the Blast Zone, and then attack for 4. He chooses to use Meltdown here, which is smart, because it takes out my Retrofitter, my Thopter, and my Mox Diamond. But I still have the Blast Zone available. So he attacks here. I go ahead and pop the Blast Zone. Alright, resynchronizes his mana, sees me pop the Blast Zone. And then we'll see a Murktide come out of his hand for 7/7. Got a Sphere, a Wasteland, and an Aganjo in hand. We do have the Maze of Ith for the Murktide, which is great. But this is really a difficult spot for me, staring down multiple creatures. So here I can make 2 constructs. He griefs out my Sphere. So he attacks with the Murktide. I use the Maze. And then I believe I take 2 damage to make a construct. And then I take 1 more damage to make a construct. And then I untap. Draw, make another construct here, I believe. Which puts me down to 5, which would technically put me down to 3. That would put me down to 1. Got the Shadow Spear. But I'm leaving up a Aganjo here. So I'm at 5. Should be at 3. I think I choose to attack here without equipping, which I should have equipped. But I wanted to use the Aganjo. That's right. So we do get the double block out of them. And then we're able to... Those are 4/4s each. I'm able to Aganjo and both creatures die. So even if I would Aganjo just the grief, I still... Ryan packs it up, but I tell him he's still got a little bit left. The game's not over. Find another Saga, activate, and then go to 2. I realize I can't tap that or I'll die. So I'm at 1. So I just attack. Also need to tap that Saga on the left-hand side, which I'm reminded about afterwards. I pick up 3 life. This is where I untap the Saga. And here is a Plague Engineer. He names Construct on this. So I tap, go to 3 life, make another Construct, untap, draw. This is a very painful mana base right here. But I'm able to make it 1 more Construct, and then I'd swing in for lethal. I was explaining how I made the second Construct, because it was untapped. Make 1 more Construct, take a life, which would be relevant, I think. I think I probably still have this, even if I didn't miss that 2 life at the beginning of the game. I just had to tap a little bit differently. I don't use the Wasteland in that game. So he's in attack, and that's it for game number 3. Thanks for watching.
If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.